they had pharaohs leading each of their people. Their reigns had 7 different groups, but here are the 3 main ones. You have the old, the middle, and the new from the different timelines. For their mummies was a big part of their culture and with the tombs. So after someone died, they wrapped the person in cloth as mummy. From 1333 BC to 1324 BC, King Tut ruled over Egypt as pharaoh, only as a teenager. He later died around 18 or 19 years old from either bone disease, leg fracture, or some infection. King Tut was mummified, and which meant that the soul would be protected by it, so that way he could come back to him and find out and recognize his body in the afterlife. He would go through various trials, with one of them being the way of the heart. They would weigh a feather of Ma'at, the goddess, and against his heart to see if he was worthy enough to go into the afterlife and not go into the underworld. The death burial mask. This mask was made of solid gold, which is usually only for pharaohs or kings or some other important people, because the equipment and items to make it was very expensive. It had bone of silver, lapis for the hair, and skin for the gold. Gold of the skin. It weighed around 24 pounds and stood at 21 inches tall. On top of it was a vulture and a cobra, resembling the goddess of their cultures for Lower and Upper Egypt. The mask also represents King Tut's journey through the afterlife and becoming a divine being. The religion and their gods. So, the god Horus and the sun disk god were part of their main gods in their culture. The sun disk god Ra was the one who helped bring like the pharaohs and stuff through the afterlife and through the trials and lead them along the right path. The Bible, the Egyptian culture doesn't really align with the Bible, as we should all know, but the Bible did mention the Egyptians quite a bit of times, like in Moses. As Christians, we believe in God, the creator of the universe, and Egyptians believe in many, many gods. One thing we do have in common with them is life after death. For us, it's spending eternity with God after judgment, and for them, it's the afterlife or the underworld. How I created my project. So what we did, we got a mannequin head, and we put clay all around it. And I thickened it out so it wouldn't crack as much, but as you see, it still kind of did. But it kind of held a good structure there. I was going to put clay around the whole entire thing, but it was just going to be way too heavy and crack way too much. So we had to change it out with thick paper and put other fabrics and stuff over it. I'd say the ear was probably my hardest and longest process to make, because even though it was a small little thing, putting it on the face and having the right design and scope-wise perfectly was very tedious and a long process getting the stick on there. One thing I enjoyed most about this was probably just realizing how much the Egyptians cared for their pharaohs and how important they were to spend these weeks or even months building the actual mask out of gold and lapis. And that's my project. Any questions?
Where did you find a mannequin head?
Amazon, actually. It was very cheap, but it works out apparently, so. Yes, baby.
I'm assuming the large thing around his head is some sort of Egyptian crown. Do you know why it's shaped that way, or what's
I didn't get into that really. I don't really know why, but yeah, it's kind of more like crown and stuff. Just it goes back to their head, it was hanging down their neck. So yes.
How to scale is this? What compares to the real thing?
Say it again.
So how to scale this?
It's pretty similar. I spent a lot of time measuring it. We had to eventually put it on a little surface so it would be more stable. So, but it's around 21 inches tall, like the actual artifact.
So these sarcophagi, was it just the pharaohs who had these, or were there other classes of Egyptians who had these?
There were other classes of Egyptians that had it. I think most Egyptians had a death mask that they wore, but only the important people were covered in gold. Usually they're only like very cheap product that they use to make it for just the regular people.
How much would the real thing sell for?
I searched it up. It was only like thousands, I think. It wasn't too much, so.
Only thousands.
So that's a lot of like riches and a lot of gold
Oh, yeah.
stored for a dead person. Why would they spend so much for that?
Because the gold represented their them going to the afterlife and just they brought their riches into the tombs with them because they believed they could bring it with them to the afterlife. So they kind of just made it out of gold and stuff and it was expensive riches too, showing their importance.